Good morning. We'd like to welcome each and every one of you here to the full state government committee this morning. And we'll get started up here. And if the clerk would please take the roll.
Representatives Alexander, Bricken, Butler, Carringer, Chisholm, Dixie, Haston, Holsclaw, Hurt, Jernigan, Johnson, Leatherwood, Littleton, Miller, Powell, Powers, Rudder, Terry, Vice Chairman McCalman, Chairman Eldridge.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Again, welcome to full state. We have one item on our agenda this morning, but before we take it up, is there any personal orders from the members? Yes, sir. Representative Dixie.
I'd like to welcome the parents from Covenant. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being present. Thank you for showing up and speaking out.
Thank you. All right. No other personal orders. We will take up our first item and only item on our agenda today, House Bill 7007 by Leader Lamberth.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Representative Bolso is going to be presenting the bill initially, and then I'll step in afterwards. I was running a few minutes behind, so he gets credit for having joined you right at 8 a.m. So
That's
if I may.
that's fine. And Representative Bolso, I believe there is an amendment on this bill that rewrites the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, 9413.
Without objection, we'll add the amendment to the bill. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amendment is on the bill. And Representative Bolso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, the central thesis of this bill is that a parent should not lose control of a child's medical records simply because the child's precious life was taken by a criminal act of homicide. Under current law, autopsy reports are generally made public. This bill reverses that presumption in the case of a minor. Under this proposed bill, HB 7007, a child's autopsy who is taken by an act of criminal homicide will not be public absent two circumstances. One, the parent is not a suspect in the death and consents to the release, or two, a court orders for good cause release of the autopsy report. This bill strikes the proper balance between parental rights and the public's interest in knowledge of an autopsy report for either a civil or a criminal proceeding. With that, we would urge passage of the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. We do have someone who would like to speak on this bill. And at this time, we're going to go out of session. And Mary Joyce, if you would like to come up to have a seat there. Yes, that'd be fine. And there should be a little button there with a red light for the microphone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rep.
Please state your name and for the record, please.
First, thank you, Representative Bolso and Chairman Eldridge and members. My name is Mary Joyce, and I have been a parent at the Covenant School for 5 years. On March 27th, my 9-year-old daughter lost 3 of her friends and hid from and was shot at in her classroom by an active shooter. I'm authorized to say the following on behalf of Pastor Chad Scruggs and his wife and my friend, Jada Scruggs. What we're asking is pretty simple. We are asking for our rights as guardians of our child, Hallie, which we were acknowledged and protected while she lived, to be acknowledged and protected in her death. We see this as legislatively consistent. If Hallie had only been wounded, then there would be no public access to the medical trauma her body sustained. Why should that be any different when her injuries resulted in death? At stake in our minds is this: who has a greater claim to Hallie, the public or us, her parents? To mandate that her autopsy become a matter of public record is to say that the public now has a greater claim on our daughter, that the media has a right to information which supersedes ours. We are already carrying the trauma of losing our little girl, a trauma that if the public bears at all, it does so only from a distance. We bore the responsibility of naming, raising, nurturing, loving, bearing, and now grieving Hallie. To the media, Hallie is information, a data point. To us, she is the dinner table, the soccer field, the bedroom, the pool, and the first one down the stairs on Christmas morning. She is our joy and our sorrow. We submit that because God entrusted us with her care, our claim to her is always higher, our rights always stronger, and our burden always heavier. We believe that a just society will honor such an order, reflect that order in lawmaking. Hallie was my daughter's friend since kindergarten. I'm authorized to say the following statement on behalf of my friend, Erin Kinney. No one questions what happens to the 6 victims the day of the Covenant shooting or how they died. There is no compelling public interest to know any details of their injuries and deaths other than the cause of death listed on their death certificates. This has nothing to do with open records, free speech, or governmental oversight. This has everything to do with re-traumatizing and re-victimizing those of us who had to go to the hospital and identify the broken bodies of our children, shot through with multiple holes that they could not survive. I had to see the injuries to my child's body firsthand, the same body I carried in mine for 9 months. The body I held, snuggled at night, cleaned, took to the doctor, took to school. Anyone, absolutely anyone, under current law, has the right to request a victim's autopsy and publish it in full, however they choose. Our children's gruesome injuries are currently able to be politicized, weaponized, and in detail by uncaring, sick people in the media and elsewhere. If you die of natural causes, you have the right to privacy. If you are murdered, you lose all your rights, and your final suffering becomes everyone's business. Posted on the internet for perpetuity. I cannot describe how hurtful this is and how unnecessary. I remember the day the state coroner informed our team that the media had requested the 6 victims' autopsy reports for the first time, and waiting in dread to find out what would be done. This is unacceptable. Barring a true compelling public interest or clear need for governmental oversight, autopsy reports of the child's victims and adult victims as well, including any postmortem investigative photos, should remain private and at the discretion of their parents or next of kin. Open records extremists need to put themselves in our shoes and ask themselves, what kind of benefit could there possibly be in making these records public to anyone on the street? Stop causing us more pain and hurting survivors. Protect murder victims' dignity and death, and privatize victims of autopsy records. We want our children to be remembered by the joy that they are, by the memories that we had with them, not by the amount of bullets that went through their little bodies. I want my daughter to remember her friends by those happy memories. I would ask that you hold compassion for those parents whose children were murdered. Please uphold the dignity of their children who have been victims of violent crimes by passing this bill, which prevents the release of their autopsies. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions or for our guest? Representative Alexander.
If I can get my voice, just to say thank you. Thank you for being willing to read those hard statements. I
Thank
know
you.
how hard they were for you to read, as well as how hard they are for us to hear. But it's something we need to hear because this is a law we can change. And so I encourage all the members in this committee to do the right thing and vote yes for this bill.
Thank
Thank-
you.
Thank you, Representative Powell.
Thank you. I just want to commend you for coming here today and giving that powerful testimony. I'm glad you're able to sit in this committee room and give that testimony freely. You know, this is a very sensitive. I represent part of Nashville. My son goes to school very close to Covenant. I know a lot of you and a lot of the families of Covenant. My son's baseball team, Creve Hall Little League, actually, William Kinney was a member of the Reds. I bought patches for our entire Creve Hall with the number 1 on it in honor of him. Never imagined that I would be sitting here and have to say one of my son's fellow Little Leaguers was murdered by gun violence. And I can't imagine having to share and expose the details of that publicly. So I commend you for coming here today and appreciate your testimony. I appreciate everyone here. We've got to continue to fight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any others? Representative Terry.
Thank you, and again, commend you for coming here, and I'd like to tell you, we have passed, in fact, I've carried a couple of bills for victims, particularly children that are victims, to protect them if they're a victim of crime, protect them from the media going out there and putting things out that will re-victimize them, like you did say, victims of car accidents or something like that. We've passed a couple of bills on that. Unfortunately, that, I mean, it's that something like this had to occur to bring this to our attention, but this is something that we can correct, that we will correct. And again, I commend you for being here. You're very strong to be here, and I thank you for being here.
Thank you. Representative Dixie.
Again, I would like to thank you all for coming here. Thank you for being a representative and delivering the thoughts that were put on paper for some of the parents. That was probably really hard for them to write on paper and just to speak. It's unfortunate that we're here to do this, but I understand why we're here. I just wish that we had the courage to do more to prevent this situation from happening in the first place. It's unfortunate that we won't have those courageous conversations to make that happen, to prevent and protect, instead of being reactive and be proactive. But I'm looking around and I see the sadness. You can't help but feel it in this room. And yet it still does not move people to do more. So thank you again. Keep pushing. All we can do is try to do the right thing and make people care. But it's hard to change people's hearts. But just keep doing it, and maybe we can do it one person at a time, one bill at a time. But I wish we could do more. Not that I wish we can do more. We can do more. We can do more. So thank you again, and hopefully I'll see you every day from here on out, every day, because this is a moment that we must not let die, ever. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? If not, before we go back into session, I do want to say I appreciate each and every one of you all being here today. I think it took a lot of a lot of courage and strength to come and bring your point to us. So with that, we'll go back into session. And Leader,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What-
And to these brave moms and families that are here, thank you. This bill, to be crystal clear, comes directly from one of the families that lost a child at Covenant. You've heard me say several times, there are 346 people that were killed in Memphis year before last. 31 of them were children. These families and their friends, those families and their friends deserve us to set all partisanship or any kind of political whatever aside and just do the right thing. This is a small gesture for these families. There are 37 bills still pending in the House in this special session, and many of them address multiple different issues of both how to prevent violent crimes and horrible, horrible tragedies like this. But surely to goodness, as Representative Bolso said, and thank you for being the first to sign on to this bill, and Representative Alexander said, both from a legal point and just a human point, this should be the least of what we can do to say that these children, it was read, and thank you, ma'am, for saying that, but those statements are from parents that lost children. These are parents that know those children. It just seems like the least that we can do.
thank you, Leader. Question has been called on the bill. We are going to be voting on House Bill 7007 as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The bill passes. It moves on to GovOps. Thank you all. And that completes our calendar today, so we will stand adjourned.